Hello, everyone. There is a common misconception that developer relations or DevRel programs are only effective to commercial or proprietary softwares. However, in this section, we're going to look at how we can build thriving DevRel programs within open source. A little bit about me. I am Anita Human, a developer advocate at Metal Bear, where we're building an awesome open source project called MirrorD to make the Kubernetes developers' life a lot easier. I am a DI advocate and I work and contribute to communities like Nonfocus and Chaos. And I also organize local meetups for CNCF and KCD Nigeria. During this section, we're going to look at what DevRel and open source is all about. Then we'll look at some common pitfalls and challenges with open source projects today, the relationship between DevRel and open source, and then we're going to dive into why open source projects need developer relations programs, and then how we can also leverage it for open source growth. So let's get into it. Well, open source is a topic that we're all very conversant with, right? Because basically, softwares that have their code base licensed to be publicly available and accessible to anyone. And because these projects have stemmed from like a collaborative and collaboratory effort of diverse group of people, as well as users and organizations, this has influenced how softwares today are like created and making community as well as collaboration key pillars of like open source, whereas DevRel on its end is a multifaceted approach that basically focus on the beneficial relationship between an organization and then the community of users or developers that could utilize this project. And a lot of persons wear the hats on that developer relations, from dev advocate to community managers to developer evangelists to content writers and so many others, right? So the purpose of all of this process is simple: to like bridge the gap between the developers, the tools that the developers have to use, the resources that they're using, and like providing the necessary support they need in the process, and relay any feedback from the developers back to the community in order to improve their experience and the project at the long run. However, so many persons today see open source or open sourcing projects as a means for commercial success, faster innovation, which is actually true, right? Because when you open source your project, there are chances of real-time developers that could utilize that project coming to drop their feedback on the project, contribute to the code base and all of that. But then we tend to forget that it also comes like with its downside of just open sourcing a project without like other plans put in place. We see that there's like issues with the poor developer experience, from the user interface down to the how the usability of the software is. Most of them are inaccessible and so many other issues. We have issues with like documentation, where so many persons complain that the documentation is too poor and inadequate, lack of user support because there's a handful of maintainers for this project, and so whenever users have challenges with the project, they have to struggle to actually address these and so many other issues that come up with open sourcing and projects, right? Now this leads so many communities to try to understand how they can bridge the gap and get rid of some of these challenges. And I think that's where developer relations come in. When we talk about developer relations, we're talking about understanding who the target audience is through marketing and then sharing the right information to them. We're talking about providing everything that the developer could actually use to easily get on board with your project, and their success through the process of using those documents, and then like also acting as a champion for your project in such a way that people, the community of users, see the need to get on board with that particular project. And on open source part of things, we see that a diverse community of developers, organizations are involved in building this project, and a lot of times also using this project. So developer relations and open source are two different concepts that rely heavily on community at the end of the day. And so why does your organization need a developer programs or relations program? First of all, for easy use, you want them to be able to see your project immediately and see the need to get started with it through the resources you're putting out. You want to answer the right questions in order to help their experience. You want to create awareness, because so many projects today have very poor visibility, because although they're open source, there's nobody that is actually championing this project to the right audience. And then you also want to get feedback from the users in order to improve on the project's performance over time. And in order to do that, first you need to leverage the power of developer relations within that particular project. And how can you do this? By first understanding the role of developer relations in your ecosystem. Like I said, there's so many persons that wear this hat, right? So you have to be able to understand what's developer relations is, what your project needs from developer relations. Is it community management to look at the community? Is it content to help people better understand your documentation and the resources? Is it marketing? Whatever it is that you're looking for, what is developer relations to you and your project? And then how can you make it easy for the developers, the information they're putting out to reach the right target audience with developer relations? What KPIs are you trying to measure on the long run to know that these efforts are working in accordance to the plan? How do you also execute these ways to measure this and all of that? And at the end of the day, you also have to look at the questions from the developer's point of view, right? Which is, what do developers know about your projects that you can, your project is actually offering? Do they know what you're offering? Enough about your project to actually get started with it? Do they know how to use your software? That means the resources in terms of documentation, in terms of articles, videos. Are they helpful enough for them to actually get started with ease? And then do they understand how much benefits your project can to them? For projects like Kubernetes, right, because of how much people understand its importance to development of projects today, it's kind of self-promotes itself as an open source software. So many persons are willing to, share with other developers how Kubernetes has helped them, or how other open source tools like Terraform have helped them, right? And so you also have to figure out these questions. How can your efforts make the developers, win the trust of the developers through all of this, and also trust in your foundation at the end of the day? And once you have all of this answered, the next thing to do is actually try to leverage developer relations toolkits. This basically involved. And first, I'd like to clear that there's no straightforward pattern to getting perfect returns from a developer relations effort, but having communication at the top, communication, content, and then your documentation at the top point of the whole process is a good way to get started with, which means putting out the right resources in terms of blogs, sharing and communicating with your users through newsletters, having how-to guides that provide code snippets and also ways to address any issues that they're encountering, the community part of things, how much publicity are you putting towards your project, and you're being intentional about that, and then how much support are you making for your team when someone has an issue and comes to the project to actually address it? How easy is the support for them to also get started with this? And then your presence at developer community meetups and so many other things. So leveraging all of this would play a huge role in the growth of your open source projects, right? And then once you are able to, or you have all of that in play, always remember to learn in the process. And one thing that we have learned at Metal Bear since we started the developer relations program, we have noticed twice the growth in how many downloads the Meridi image is getting, how many stars we're engaging with. from the word of mouth, right, we have had a lot more developers come up to say they've used Mirrorly in their day-to-day experience and share how amazing the experience was for them. I think just having these out there has made more persons see the need to want to, get started with Mirrorly as well, because developers are the ones spreading the news at the along the way to other developers. And then we have also improved like our support in such a way that within 2 minutes you're getting feedback whenever you have an issue. And so that has like won the interest of so many developers since we launched like the Metal Bear DevRel program. And so if this is something that you're willing to find out more and learn more on, or you want to just see how the open source project Mirrorly is doing, you can also like check out our GitHub by scanning this QR code. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing in terms of DevRel within Metal Bear, you can also reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Thank you.